Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the back office. I have here my box of bits, and that's the Meta Reverse sensor alarm thing that I unboxed a few videos ago. So we're going to fit that to the car. All of them are pretty standard in how they fit. So if you watch this video and then you buy one, you won't have a problem. The only exception being some of them actually require you to drill a bigger hole in the bumper, or 4 holes, because you need to fit the sensors themselves in the bumper. But recently I've been really just fitting the ones that are based on number plate technology, and that they're frames that go around the number plate, or like this, things that clip to the number plate. So come with me now, let's go do it and we'll fit it. First thing you're going to need to do is get your number plate off. If you're lucky, it'll come off with a screwdriver. If not, you'll probably need a drill, and you can just hold the drill on the end of the screw. It might drill out the actual screw, or it'll just heat the plastic up enough in the bumper that the thing will fall off. Use the opportunity to clean everything down, especially if your kit's like this one where there's a self-adhesive element. You don't want to get muck on it. Once you've had the opportunity to clean it up, just have a look where you might route your cables. Normally there's sort of plastic panels and fibre panels you can route wires behind, and you're ultimately going to try to get to your light fitting, so you might as well remove the cluster now because you'll need to get to it later. If you've not done it before, you might find that you've got a tool like this that you can use. It's a bit of a sort of spannery thing. I struggled without it till I discovered the kit has one in it. Use one if you've got it. And there are the wires ultimately we're going to be splicing into. So you're going to have to poke these wires through your bumper because they're the sensor wires. So if you've got a stepped bit, as I've got, that's the sort of most useful way. And the stepped bit will also sort of grind through metal if it's a quality one. So you've got options of where you're going to route it through from the back. I'm going to poke the wires ultimately through here. So just drill them out, take your time, be careful. You want to make sure you're drilling your holes in the right place, especially when you're talking about drilling through the bottom of your car. But make sure what's left isn't sharp. You know, there's sometimes shards left on these things. If your kit is sort of self-adhesive, just sort of mount it up. This one it just goes on the end of your number plate, so I'm just sort of eyeballing it up. I've got some 3M tape because it didn't come with it because it's second hand, so I've got to reapply the tape it would have come with. You've obviously also got the option that you could screw this behind the number plate to the bumper, but it's not worth it. This 3M tape's pretty good if you've got hold of some. Can be a bit fiddly getting these off, but I assure you once it's all stuck down and it'll set after a sort of hour or so, that tape is not coming off. So once you've got it all fitted up to your number plate, you'll need to drill some holes to let the wires for the sensors through. As it's all hidden behind the number plate, I'm not taking too much care, but just get them more or less in the right place. Again, step bit makes life so much easier because you don't have to drill a pilot out, then ream it out to be a bit bigger. You can just hear it. It'll go chunk, chunk, chunk as it goes through each stage. Just testing it through. Fits nicely. That'll do. Yes, please, sir. May I have another? Just going to pull those through. Try not to get too knotted. I got a little bit knotted, but that's fine. You'll be okay. We'll sort of, you might just see in the bottom of the frame a sort of black stick. That's a sort of fiberglass thing I got off a kite that I've poked through the hole inside the car because I'll be duct taping these wires to the end of it and pulling it up through the bodywork. Just finding some. I think I drilled new screw holes in this case, or maybe I just pushed in new screw holes, but I have new fittings. So before you start this, you can be pretty sure that your number plate fittings aren't going to come off in one piece. So just make sure you get down to Halfords or wherever you go and get some new ones with the nice new caps. There we go. You don't have to touch the number plate now. That's all done. Just duct taping it onto that fiberglass pole very loosely, but just make sure it's nicely around the connectors. See there, putting it around the tip of the connectors, because once you get that bit through, the wire is going to follow nice and easily. Up it goes. Just routing it up through here, and then once you're done, I'll just put a bit of duct tape over the hole, and that's good. That'll just keep out any bugs or lurgies. Routing the wire, you can see there's actually some existing wire there and clips, so I've sort of clipped it through those and actually used some black insulation tape just to sort of attach it to the old wiring loom. If you're pulling out clips for this internal upholstery, just be careful, because you can sometimes rip the upholstery or the actual clips themselves. It's not particularly good quality normally in boots, doesn't need to be. So I've chosen to sight the box here. No good way to do it really, it's got a bit of Velcro on it, so I just plopped it there for now. Now I've got the two wires that we need to splice into the connector. So I've taken the back fitting off, and I'm looking for the common ground so I can work out the polarity of this. We know the reverse light is the actual bottom bulb, I can see that on the reflector, but I want to see which is the actual pin outs for this. So that pin is the common ground, because they're all attached to every bulb basically, and the other one is the reverse light power. So you've got to be a bit careful with this. If you're confused, sort of consult some online schematics or just buzz it out with your multimeter. So I'm just undoing the tape here so I can open up the split conduit. That's so that I can get this cable that we're splicing in back through there afterwards, because it's quite a nice way of keeping the wires sort of protected so they don't sort of cut themselves on the edge and cause a short circuit. I'm just going to do a window splice now, so that's basically cutting a slot in the insulation. So I'm not cutting right through the wire, I'm just cutting a slot, and then I'm going to solder the wires into there. You could use some of those 3M or Scotch block, whatever they're called, connectors that you crimp through the wire. That certainly would work, but I always prefer to do it this way because it's a little bit more permanent, makes me sort of take a little bit more care over the job, and then I can tape it up nicely and it'll all fit in the conduit. If you use those big blocks, for example, you can never really seal them nicely, and they're going to sort of rust out or short out eventually. Or when they start to rust, they're going to rust out your main cables, your main wires basically that go to that connector. Then you'll get a proper short. So not only will you lose your reverse parking sensor, you'll lose your reverse lights. And if you lose that ground, you'll lose all of the lights in that cluster. So it's not worth messing with. Get a portable soldering iron if you haven't got one. So it's quite simple. I'm not taking a massive amount of care here, but I'm taking a reasonable. I'm just tinning. So I haven't sort of cut the window splice right round. I've just sort of done one edge, and I'm just tinning the visible portion there. It's nice to tin the both ends, because then basically you just hold the two pieces together and fuse them with the soldering iron. You don't really have enough hands to do all of those actions in one go, so taking it in stages like this is often the best way. And you can see me here, one hand now I'm sort of positioning and holding and everything, and then I'm just using the gas soldering iron just to sort of join those two together. And so you can still see it's still a little bit fiddly, but we'll get there in the end. I like to just check my work here, because you don't really want to have to do this again or attack it. So all you need to do is just make sure it won't short out by applying some insulation tape. Apply it individually to each one, and then you can sort of tape the bundle together, get it inside the conduit, and then tape the conduit up. It's a pretty invisible job really once you're done. I think that's probably the aim of the game really. If you can get this installed as invisibly as possible and as reliable as possible, I think you're as close to factory as you're going to get. I might actually resight the box that I've sort of roughly chucked internally on that wheel arch somewhere else at some point, just maybe inside the wheel well or out of the way. But when you're doing it, take your time. You've got maybe a little bit more time than I had to do this. You can sight it where you think is most appropriate. Just get that last bit of tape over. You don't want the split to open up and all your wires flop out once you go over a speed bump. So that's pretty much that done. We'll just pop this on. I'm pretty confident in my soldering, so I don't really bother testing these till the very end. but if you're doing it yourself, you could test these in stages. So before you fit the light and screw it in, you could go in and put the car in reverse and listen out for that beep. There should be a little beep there from that reverse sensor when you put it into reverse. Be careful though, don't drive into your wall. So you can see me there just testing the beep. There's certainly sort of sensitivity adjustment and a small tool that comes with this, so you can sort of adjust that. Sometimes these things don't really seem to make too much effect until you're out and about, but we're done. All done. Thanks for watching.